hearty welcome to everyone present here today. I am Jagoshini Bhattacharya, BLLB Honours Semester 2, and I am the Master of Ceremonies for this session. I take this wonderful opportunity to welcome the guest speaker for today's workshop, Dr. B.M. Malcolm, who would be speaking on the challenges one might face with regarding to mediation and ADR in general. This workshop has been organized by the core committee members of Xavier Society of Law and Justice in order to provide the students of XLS deep insight on mediation and facilitate a convenient understanding of the proceedings of the Intra Edition of XMC'23. To start off with the session, I would like to begin with introducing the audience and the viewers to our esteemed speaker for today's workshop, Dr. B.M. Malcolm, even though a man of this stature and prestige needs no introduction. Dr. B.M. Malcolm is an honorary advocate and an empaneled arbitrator at the Bombay High Court. He has had years of practice in the fields of criminal and civil law, documentation and arbitration, family court matters, and real estate redevelopment matters, as well as testamentary work. Today, he would be aiding us with regards to having a clear and in-depth understanding of the methods of mediation so that the participants of XMC'23 can highly benefit from it. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you very much. I always like it when people praise me early in the morning so that the whole day goes terrifically. I have recorded your speech and I shall listen to it at 5:30 every morning if you don't mind. May I do that? No copyright on that. No copyright on that. Public domain. Chalo. Now let us start. About the one subject about which you can say the least is mediation. At the end of the session, you will realize that what mediation really entails is for you to keep quiet. The best mediator is the one who speaks the least. Now, at the end of the session, we'll realize why it is so. Mediation seems to be a big legal term. You know, what is that ADR, alternate dispute resolution? Everything is in short forms these days. ADR, MED is mediation. And I get confused. You have three parts in alternate dispute resolution. The biggest and the costliest and the most money-making is arbitration, especially if you go abroad. And if finally you get nothing in return, you have to come back to the court. A waste of time, waste of money. Conciliation. Do you know that conciliators charge a fee? No. I think it is 3%. Yeah, they are entitled to that. In fact, I very often used to joke with the arbitrators, while you waste your time in arbitration, whereas going for conciliation, you might be able to make some more money. And the third one is, of course, mediation. Mediation is something in all walks of life. I mean, the best thing to do when you're mediating is to meditate. Let the other two parties. How does it work? Let's start off. Or why does it work? Let's start off that way. People don't like to go to court. For some reason, they feel that it is time consuming. It's expensive. I mean, I'm sure people do have faith in courts, because if they did not have faith in courts, we would not be having millions of cases in courts. It's because people have faith in courts that they go there. Otherwise, they would go to some don or bhai to settle the matters. The mediation is in all walks of life. Almost every instance, every day, there is a bit of mediation. If there is a dispute or if there is an argument and a third person walks in and gives a solution, that is mediation. Mediation is nothing new in law. It might have been added as a factum of law, but it is not new. It has been going on for centuries. In fact, in the olden days, I read somewhere that mediators had not only a place in society, but they were particularly trained to do it, which is what we are doing today. I don't think that we had a formal form of mediation maybe 50, 60, 70 years from now. But now we have trained mediators. You go through a training course, you get a very big certificate, not that big, but to show that you are a mediator and which you can always hang up behind you. I don't think we have anything on this wall. The next time I'll put some certificate up there. Actually, the certificates are in front of me. So you get a certificate which certifies you as a mediator. Now, as I told you, the biggest asset for a mediator is not to talk. But at the same time, the mediator has to understand the problem. You can't just walk into a room and say, I'm the mediator, and let's start. A good mediator would try to find out what the problem is before he meets both the parties. He would even meet each of them separately to find out what they have in mind. Or if he can see a common instance. Two warring parties very rarely see anything common. They always see the odds. I want this, and the other fellow says, I want this. I won't give you this. I won't give. There's hardly any common ground. Now, if you are lawyers and you would understand how in a civil matter there is a draft of issues. What is the draft of issues? It is the points where there is no commonality. Where there is commonality, if both parties say yes, the color is red, there's no sense in putting it into litigation. But if one says it is red and the other says it is pink, there might be a problem, and a mediator might be able to find a solution between the two. Or if it is black and it is gray, between black and white, there's always a problem. But then there are shades of gray. I think there are books on that, 50 Shades of Grey or something like that. I think somebody's writing novels with that. And it's true. If you let me digress a bit, I remember a gentleman, one Mr. Kulkarni, was purchase officer for Kirloskars. I used to go to their factory in West Central Maharashtra very often. One day he told me, he says, Babu, who says the color of leaves is green? He says, look around. It's from yellow to almost black. So now, if he says yellow and I say black, it doesn't work. But if we say yes, there are many shades of green. So let us try to find out which green we are talking about. A mediator has to find that common ground. To tell you the truth, I have been through many mediations and all have failed. I have a feeling they have failed because the mediators were not really up to it, in the sense that they did not have the time or the energy or the inclination to go through it. They were hoping that the two parties would give him an idea rather than he give them the idea. But as luck would have it, about 4 months back, we went in for a mediation. It was a money matter where mediation has now been made compulsory. I'm glad for that. Mediation should be made compulsory in all such matters, especially family matters where you have counseling. But rather than counseling, a mediation might be better because a counselor tells you what to do. A mediator would try to find out where the two parties can meet. So we went in for a mediation, and I knew the mediator from having opposed him in quite a number of litigations. We became very good friends, even though we were always on opposite sides. He mentioned to me, he says, not a single one of my mediations has worked. Not one. So I said, let's make sure this one works. I said, I've also been through mediations and they've never worked. But since both of you are on the same plane, both of us, let's make sure this works. And it did work. And it did work. In fact, just 3 or 4 days back, because it was a commercial suit, the other party has started giving, it's in bits and pieces, but he started giving us, I think, some 40 lakhs or something is the first tranche, which he has given us. So this was a mediation that would work because all of us were trying to find a solution. Mediator just prodding us, can you do this? Can you do that? No effort on his part was to push us into it. He would say, why not this? Why not that? Let's look at it this way. Let us look at it this way. I would have a problem. The other side would have a problem. My colleague would have her own problems, all sorts of things. And somehow or the other, I think in just 2 sessions, not even 3, I think 2 sessions. We met for 2 sessions. One was, of course, a dud because wasn't there. But in 2 sessions, we were able to come to a solution. And that I believe that was mainly because all of us wanted to do it. And the mediator did not interfere. He just let us talk with each other, not talk with each other and try to find common ground. Maybe a little bit of give and take on both sides. So the mediation process, I think, should be encouraged. But for heaven's sake, don't think you're going to walk out of it with a solution. Don't go into it hell-bent on making sure that there is no solution, that it must go to court. It's more for us, the 2 parties, the 2 warring parties, rather than the mediator who is responsible for that. Mediator, yes, another thing about a mediator, must keep a very, very cool head. Extremely good. Must be a very laid-back person. If you want to keep iced tea on the table at all times. But the mediator has to be a very extremely polite, nice, happy person. No matter what happens, he has to make sure that the water is kept calm. It's not turbulent. So, as I said, mediation was introduced in society a very long time back. And in everything that we do, there can be mediation. Almost everything. You want a cinema ticket, you want one seat, somebody else says, no, that is occupied. Then you look around and say, okay, let's try this one. It looks equally good, if not better. Sometimes you might come out of a mediation with a solution which is far better than than you expected when you went in. It happens because when the parties are heated up and they're hot in their heads, they can't think. They're like 2 boxers wanting to punch each other to death. So it's like the referee keeping them aside, but then the referee lets them fight again. The mediator keeps them aside and makes sure they don't fight. So people go in with a very hot head, and the mediator has to be an extremely cool person. If you can find a mediator like that, I can assure you that you will be able to solve any problem, which is possible. Now, I like sessions to be interactive. I don't know, I don't see many people over there, but I would like people to start asking questions because it jogs my mind. I can start thinking also. So let us look at it this way. We are 2 warring parties and we want to come to a solution. We want to find out what mediation is. So let's start. Let somebody ask some questions, please. I know that most of them are there on the screen. They've not gone for their cup of tea like people normally do. I can see a couple of smiling faces. Those must be the ones who have done it before because they know what I'm talking about. Let's see what does this lady have to say. What is her name? Benshika. Khemka. You must have done it before because you were the first one to start smiling. You know what I was coming to. So anyway, Ms. Khemka, why don't you start with asking the questions? And there is this one Mr. Sina. I'm sure he's not there. He's got a very tough-looking picture photograph over there, but I'm sure he's gone for his cup of tea. Are you there, Mr. Sina? No, he's not there. Anyway, Ms. Khemka, let's start. Start asking question. Then we'll go next to Ms. Sahe. Then, of course, our hero, Saurya Mal. A very short surname. You have a Mal. That's about all. Ask me to start asking me the questions. Please, let's get started. Let's get started. You want to become a mediator. Am I correct? I can't
Yes,
hear Ms. Sina. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can. But I can't see your face. There's hair all over you. Tell me.
So basically, I want to know what is the difference between the roles of a mediator, counsel, and client in the process of mediation?
Slowly. I'm 81 years old. If you ask me some questions so fast, it doesn't register. Slowly. You want to know
Sorry,
the
sir.
difference between?
So the difference between the roles of a mediator, counsel, and client in the process of mediation, depending on the time frame, the order of questions may be changed.
I didn't understand that properly. You asked me what is the role of the mediator, which I've been speaking about for the last 5-10 minutes. Now, when you talk of counsel, are you talking of counseling? A counsel
So the counsel as
as
in
a
the
counsel.
so the counsel as in the advocate who will be representing the client.
You mean the advocates who? Okay, fair enough. You call them counsel. We call them whatever it is. Two people who have a problem, they invariably turn up with their own advocates. Sometimes the advocates are helpful in solving the problem because normally we realize that our clients, everybody's clients, we feel that they are being a little bit too awkward and being a little bit too rigid. So it is our duty as advocates to try and calm things down. Maybe take your client aside and say, look, why don't we try it this way? Why do you have to be rigid? So both the advocates in that instance would be able to get their clients to see similarities. It happens all the time. Very often we tell our own clients that let's not get, rigid about this. Let's see. Let's look at what the other side really wants. But then it can only happen if both the advocates want to do it. If one advocate is willing to speak with his client and try to find them, and the other fellow says, no, I want this, and it tells the client that you stick to your guns, mediation won't work. So that when you say counsel, I presume you refer to the counsel who are along with the clients. Am I right? What was the third person? You said mediator, counsel, and you asked or said a third person.
So mediator, counsel, and client.
We've covered everything. Any other question? What year are you in?
Sir, I'm in third year.
Of 5 years?
Yes, sir.
Or final?
So 5 years.
I went through 6 course. You have only 5 years. I went through 6-year course. Actually, I went through, I don't know how many, 7, 8, whatever it is. Now tell me one thing. Do you want to become a mediator? Think it over. It would be a nice experience. Of course, you can't become a mediator overnight. But if you go through some mediations and decide to become a mediator, it might help you when your clients are in front of a mediator. You know exactly what the mediator wants, and you also, it's a sort of a rounding off. You sit in all the chairs to find out how they work. By the way, mediators are pro bono as well as they have a charge. Usually, it's a charge fixed by the court. In our court, it might be coming to some 35,000 rupees, but sometimes it might be worth it because it could save a lot of time otherwise. Tell me anything else. Have I grilled you enough? Have I cross-examined you enough? And I have got the answers that I want from you? Or have you cross-examined me and got the answers which you wanted from me?
Yes, sir.
No, don't give me an answer, yes, sir, and no, sir. That means nothing. It's like the children in the village where everybody says, I go to an English-speaking school, and if you ask them a question, the answer is either yes or no. Anyway, now let's go to the next lady in line. So who is the next lady in line? Miss Sahe? She's the next. Miss Sahe, what are your questions? You ask me.
So, sir, my question is, how can we turn the mediation session towards our favor?
A mediation session is not supposed to be in your favor. It's supposed to be in the favor of both parties.
Yeah, from the point of view of a party, how can we turn it in our favor?
See, as I said, mediation, a mediator is only somebody who brings the two parties together and lets them speak. Both parties have to find a common ground. If you are going to go in there and say it has to be in my favor, please don't waste your money on mediation. Because if you go in there with the idea that it's not going to work, or I'm going to get what I want and I will not give up anything to the other party, where is the mediation? It's confrontation. It's as good as going into a court and fighting it out. You know what they say about our system of jurisprudence? It's antagonistic. The mediation comes in when you don't want to be antagonistic. So don't go in with that idea, how can I make it work in my favor? It could work in your favor. It may not work completely in your favor. But it's like this, a phrase that I very normally use, that when you get off the table, both parties feel happy. If you can achieve that, it's good. When you get off the table, both parties are happy. Both think that they have got what they wanted. So a mediator usually helps you come to that position where both of you get up, shake hands, and say, why the hell were we fighting all this time when we could have sorted it out without paying the mediator? It should be that attitude with which you get up. You understand? Okay,
Yes,
what else? What else? Any other question you have in mind? Think it over. I will ask you the same question as I asked the lady before you. Miss Khemka. I asked, do you want to be a mediator? And if you wanted to be a mediator, how would you go about it?
It is very difficult for me to become a mediator because I'm really short-tempered, and a mediator has to be
What are you
calm.
What are you doing? You're not short?
Sir, I'm very
Not-
short-tempered. I cannot be a mediator.
Achha, because now this word short is coming up all the time, especially short selling. Everywhere, everything is now shortened. Short circuit, short selling, short tempered. How tall are you? Are you short too?
No, sir, I'm 5'6".
So neither here nor there. Anyway, okay, fair enough. If you're short, short-tempered, you can always have that glass of iced tea in front of you. I'm short-tempered too. I'm extremely short-tempered, but I can bottle it up for a very long time. I can bottle it up for a very long time. So not to do it, bottle it up for a very long time until it breaks. But in the meantime, you can come to a solution. And the matter of fact is that being short-tempered may not be a very good thing. But if you can control your emotions and realize that the other people are also short-tempered, and then you got to get them online, you know exactly how they're thinking. They're alike. I don't think it should be that much of a problem. Unless you're, absolutely off the handle all the time. But I see you smiling, so you can't be short-tempered. Short-tempered people don't smile. Therefore, always grumpy, shouting at people. So, next. Now, Mr. Mal, what else would you want me to speak about on mediation?
So I have a question. So, can the mediator have a session with each parties privately?
Of course. Yeah. Necessary. Otherwise, it becomes like a court.
So, sir,
one thing. Mediation sessions are absolutely private. In fact, no notes may be made also, except the final ones. What happens in mediation cannot be used in court.
So a client can privately talk to the mediator?
They should. They encourage them. Yes, encourage them. But not only one client, they will speak to both. The idea is, as I said earlier, the idea is to find out where non-commonality lies rather than commonality. And if they can find out what commonalities, then you push that aside. There's no sense in arguing on commonalities. Like, you were to start this at 12 o'clock today, and then you said 11 o'clock. If we had discussed it with a mediator, he might have said, why not keep it at 11:30? That sort of a thing. But I found commonality in that. I said, fair enough, 10 o'clock, no problem. We start at 10, or we start at 11 or 12, or whatever time you wanted. So mediation goes on in every form of life, every matter of life. We are always mediating with each other, trying to come to some solution. The only thing is that when you go to court and you're sent for mediation, you do it in front of a trained mediator. But then almost everybody is a trained mediator. You might not do something right. If father says do this and mother says do that, and then the grandfather or the grandmother says, why don't you do this? And both mommy and daddy are happy. That's mediation. So you find commonalities and try to overcome the problem. Sometimes a good mediator might even tell you that, look, we've had discussions. Why don't we meet after 10, 15 days? It gives you time to think. Unfortunately, the time given for mediation, maybe it's a good thing, I don't know. The courts only give you a certain time frame in which you can't extend mediation indefinitely, like defendants would like to do in court. They give you a time frame. But maybe 10, 15 days, you can say, why don't you think it over? We've got this. Let us see. And you will come back with more solutions. Both sides will come back. See, the idea of a mediator is not to give you solutions. He's got to help you. He's not there to dictate to you what to do. It's a very tricky job, no doubt about it. It's a very tricky job. Usually, it takes 2 or 3 cups of tea or coffee for nerves not to get rattled. And another aspect of the mediator is to be very patient. If the two people are, arguing with each other, almost fighting, for him it has to be very patient. In fact, it would be a nice thing if it doesn't, he shuts his ears and let them talk to each other. and then comes back with a fresh mind, because he already knows what the problems are. And how does he know that? By talking to the antagonist parties, one thing at a time. Most of them. So that, in fact, I think it's a good thing. Recently, a client came to us for, usually all matters in this country are either property or money. This was both. And we wrote to the other side. In fact, this is not normally what advocates do, but I went to their office and had discussions with them. And I said, if you people wish it, how to settle the matter, why don't you ask a mediator to do it for you before you go to court? The other side said, I'd like you to mediate. It's a very rare thing. And it put me into a very difficult position, because here I have my client whom I have to protect, and the other fellow says, protect me. But fortunately, both sides agreed. He says, okay, you try it out. Now, unfortunately, the other side is reasonable, mine isn't. What do I do? So I've given them time. I said, please think it over. If you can't do it, forgive me. I'll recuse myself and you find somebody else. But if I were an official mediator, I would have written a report. Mediation failed. Full stop. Jao court mein jhagda karo. In all walks of life, there is mediation. In all walks of life, there is mediation. I was very surprised when this sort of a thing happened. I hadn't expected it to happen. Maybe sometime more. In fact, a lot of my clients have started out as my opponents. A lot of them have started out as my opponents. Not that I've let them win. They've lost to me and still become good clients of mine, very good clients of mine. For years, they've been giving me business. And instead of that, if they had come up with a mediation plan initially, it would have helped. So in all walks of life, there is mediation. There's nothing special about mediation. It's only to find common ground and get it over and done with. Well, what else?
So the mediator just paves the way for the solution, and the solution is brought only by the client, the two sides.
Yes, he paves the way, but without the clients knowing that he's doing it. See, there's a technique to that. You know, sort of, why don't we ask Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so? Why doesn't we ask Mr. Dr. So-and-so? Let's see what he has to say. What have you to say? That sort of a thing. You know, quietly get them closer and closer together until you clinch it. And that is what happened 3 months back. We clinched it only because all three parties felt that now let us walk off this table, get away from this table. And everybody, the two parties and the mediator, is happy. The mediator obviously was very happy because the first time he was able to give a positive. And mind you, he's quite a senior mediator. So he was also very happy. Everybody was happy. Matters, it is on track now. It is on track. What else? Mediation is a more tricky position than being a conciliator or an arbitrator. An arbitration is almost antagonistic. And he gives it what he calls an award. Again, it is actually a judgment for which you can always go and appeal in the court. But mediation process becomes very nice because then you can't walk out of it. You have agreed to it and you finish it off. If you want to walk out of it, the only way you can do it is go back to court. Conciliation, it normally works in labor matters. It's a matter of, I want to give you 100, you want 200. The conciliator somehow or the other finds a way, goes through records and finds a way and says that, okay, let's settle it at 150 and both sides are happy. So that's conciliation, but that's an active process. Mediation is a very passive process. The less you speak, the better it is. Let the two parties speak with each other in front of you and try to keep them from drawing their daggers or clutching each other by the throat until they want to get up, shake hands, and say thank you. It's a tricky process. It's not that easy. Bolo, what else? When you gave me this subject, I realized that there's not much to say on this except to say keep quiet. But since you people are asking me the questions, it's jogging my mind also. I'm thankful for that. Just a minute. Where is she? I can't see her. Oh, you're there. I'm sorry. I was looking up there as a smaller icon. Fair enough. Yes, there. What's your name?
Sir, Suniti.
Suniti. Tell me, Suniti.
Sir, I have a question.
Please do.
Sir, like in mediation, leverages
First of
are
all,
very
stop calling me
important,
sir. Don't call me sir. I have a name, otherwise don't call me anything at all. Tell me. What is it?
Like
You
in
can't
mediation,
speak without calling me sir. You're
it's
tongue-tied.
difficult. It's difficult.
Tell me. It's like using the
So,
word like.
yes, exactly.
Tell
So,
me.
like in mediation, leverage is very important. So, how do we use this leveraging information, which the party only knows, sir, to our favor?
Let us break that up. Like I normally do for statutes. Every section has to be broken up. First of all, what do you mean by leverage? Do you know what
So,
leverage
that
is?
particular edge which a particular party has, which the opponent party does not have access to.
That's leverage.
So,
What is
you
it?
could guide us.
Are you a science student?
No,
Are you a
sir,
science
commerce
student?
student.
Is anybody a science student? No. A lever is this. I want to lift up a rock and there is a fulcrum here. And so the distance from the fulcrum to the end of the effort, multiplied that, is equal to the short arm and lifting it. That is called leverage. This is the lever. Can you see it? This is the lever. Now, when you speak of leverage, what do you mean? You know something and you want to lift something else, right? You want to lever. I understand when you use the word leverage, we use it very commonly without realizing what it means. But what you want to do is have an advantage over the other person because of something you know and the other person does not. Now, let us go back to law. And you will find it at all times, not only, it's unfortunate, it's also amongst lawyers. The law says that you must put everything on the table, everything that you know, do not hide. I'm talking of litigation. Do not hide anything and do not catch the other party off guard. It's not done. It's not the done thing. People might say that well, everybody does it. I don't know. People does it. Just 1 minute. So now, in a court of law, you are supposed to put everything on the table. You cannot hide things, even if it is detrimental to you. That's what the law says. Because the judge has to take an informed decision. And if he finds that you are hiding something, he can hold an adverse position against you. The system might be adversarial, but at the same time, you have to be open. The judge has to decide. And how can he decide if you hide things? Hiding a thing in court is as good as lying. It's fabrication. It's perjury. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. I remember in one instance of my own many, many years ago, my opponent said that the receipt book had got burnt in a fire. Everybody, including his own lawyer, started laughing. Everybody, including his own lawyer, started laughing because they knew that he was lying. At that moment, we said that, look, we have the receipt with us. So you can't hide things. Now, in the same way, leverage. I know something which I want to use against my opponent. It's always very nice to know that your opponent doesn't know it. I know something and I'll put one over him. But that is not the way law should work, especially in mediation. You have to tell the mediator, look, this is my position, this is what I've got. The other fellow also said, this is my position, this is what I've got. Only then can you come to a fair decision. So, where is that lady? What was her name? Not Sunaini. Suniti. I had a professor called Sunita. So Suniti, I don't think it would work if you try to leverage something without the knowledge of the other party. The mediator might not like it either. It's best to be open about these things. And see, when you try to hide something or take advantage, as you said, leverage something, it means that you are in the wrong. And you want to take advantage of that.
Right.
You're not in parliament where you can avoid answers. If the other party asks you, you have to answer them correctly. You can't hide it. So what else? Tell me. That was one part of your question. Now we're breaking up the section into so many parts. Leverage. What was the next one? Tell me, what was the next one?
So the next part was this only, like if a particular party has a leverage, then how can that party use it to their own favor? So because at the end of the day, the aim is to have a settlement which is in their own benefit, which is for their benefit. So
Settlement in your own benefit. Where is the settlement?
so the mediation, so the solution for which they have come to
Yes,
mediate.
but it can be a settlement only in your favor. And it's not mediation.
Yeah, of course, sir. Of course.
If you had some information which you wanted to use against the other party, why don't you tell the mediator about it? Or tell the other party, look, I've got these papers, I've got this, that, and the other, which is against you. Why do you want to fight on that particular point? I have this information. Now, suppose you have paid some money and you have a receipt for that. That fellow says that, no, I have not received it. You say, look, I have this receipt. Just the instance which I gave you some time back. So I've got the receipt for it. You can't hide the receipt. Let the fellow rattle on and then say, here is the receipt. You are lying. That's not the way it's done in court. And the courts frown on it. They don't like you catching the other party off guard. In a repartee in court, you can answer, back answer all sorts of things in a verbal argument. But courts don't encourage it. So please don't go into the profession with the idea of making fools out of the other parties. It won't work. The judges will see through you. The mediator will see through you. Don't do it. It's tempting. I know that. It's very tempting. Tell me. If you cheat on your boyfriend, you can do it. I don't mind it.
Thank you, sir.
So anyway, now let's second part. That's the second part of your question. What's the third one? What's the third?
So that's it, sir.
Is that all? Are you happy with what we have discussed? God bless you.
Absolutely, sir.
But in the meantime, if you remember something else, please come on.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're hiding something from me. You want to ask me, but you want to leverage it against me.
No, sir. You were pretty clear, sir. I understood. Thank you.
Very well. Now let's get on to the next question. Who else has a question?
Sir, I have a question.
Interactive because another pretty girl. What is your name? Are you at home?
Sir, sorry, I could not hear you.
I said, are you at home?
Yes, sir, I'm in the hostel right now.
Nice hostel. I mean, nice windows and the. So, tell me, where is this hostel?
So this is the St. Xavier's hostel only.
Where exactly is this? I used to live in Calcutta many years ago, some 70 years ago, not
So this
50
is in
years.
Newtown, Kolkata, Rajaghat.
Where is it?
Sir, it is in Newtown.
Newton must have come up there. I only knew of a couple of streets and my office, which was on Mission Road. And of course, that the Maidan round the Victoria Memorial, where we had our cycle races. Calcutta is where I'm very fond of Calcutta. I won my first individual national championships over there. So come on, tell me. I'm sorry, I'm digressing.
Sir, my question is that in a mediation, if we are playing the role of a mediator, what should we do if we have been made privy to a certain party's leveraging information? How should we handle it properly?
You should tell the other party to bring it out when the other party is in front of you. I mean, like I said earlier, I would go to the mediator and say, look, I've got this document. He doesn't know about it. Suppose the other party also goes to the mediator and says, I have got another document which I don't want to show you. Do you think it will work? As an advocate, many years ago when I took up law just 15, 16 years ago. For that, a young advocate had once told me, he says, in advocacy, you have to remember that the other side is always smarter than you are. So hiding things is being over smart. And how do you know that the other side isn't smarter than you? You can't bring up a document after the. Suppose you have a document A. The other side has document B. The other side brings up document B and says that, look, this, I put it on record, this, that, and the other. And then you say, no, I have got document A. The first question will be, why did you produce it? So don't hide it. Be fair. And if your client is wrong, it's best to tell your client that, look, boy, you got a bad case. But we'll try to make the best of it. You may not win, but at least let us try to find some win which you can get out smiling, if not laughing. You get it? So it's best to be, and if your client tells you, I've got this and I don't want to show it, tell the client, either you show it or otherwise I'm leaving. Openly. But make sure, and this has happened to me once, very nasty experience. Make sure that your client gives you a document that is original, not forged. It has happened to me once, put me into a very bad situation. So if a client gives you a piece of paper and says that, please cross-examine your own client to find out whether that piece of paper, important piece of paper, is really authentic. Now, all these things you have to do before you go into mediation. Don't let the mediator say that, look, this is forged. You will cut a sorry figure. What else?
I have a question.
You have a question?
Yes.
Where were you all this time? You've been away for half an hour.
No, sir, I've been here.
Tell me.
Yes, sir. So with regards to a mediation competition, would you be kind enough to let us know some tips and tricks that would be good for the roles that we play?
I will tell you of tips, but no tricks.
Okay, sir.
See, let us take any issue which is antagonistic. This is how I work. It may not be the right way. It may be completely the wrong way. Other might have better ways of it. All I know is that I want a winning way. What would I do if I were an advocate for one of the sides? Is that what you want me to answer? Or do you want me to say that I'm a mediator and what do I do? Let's take both. As far as the mediator is concerned, we already discussed it, that the mediator should first study the problem on hand, a very detailed study. with all the information, documents, not witnesses, documents, everything else that is available to him, and then find out where the problems lie. So a mediator has to be well prepared before he goes into mediation. Maybe a lot of mediations fail because mediators are not properly prepared. They sort of get people together, okay, let's have a cup of tea, what do you want, and it send in a failure vote. Especially the ones who do it pro bono. They should not have, but unfortunately I feel that they do have. I don't know. But I feel that they do have a sort of So, in fact, there are a number of cases, we've also been through them, where the judge who is handling our case asks her to mediate in front of another judge of the same court, in the same court building. The other judge acts as a mediator. But a couple of times we've been there, it has been a session for about 15 minutes, half an hour, and the notice sending mediation failed go ahead. So a mediator himself must come into the mediation process by saying, I am going to solve this problem, come what may. My reputation is on the line. If you come in with, just like you enter a courtroom and you say, I am going to win. You go in with a positive mind. I am not going to lose. I am going to win. In the same way, the mediator should also say, I am going to solve this problem. The two sides, they should also come into the mediation room and say, let's hope we get it sorted. If you come with that frame of mind, usually it works. But very rarely do three people come in with the same frame of mind. Tell me, what else? What was your question? Now let's start again. I forget. But because we discuss these things and we sober a cup of tea. Tell me, what is it? You continue with your question. You forgot it.
Sorry, that's what my
That's all.
question. I got. That's it.
Paisa vasool. Okay. What else? What else is there in mediation?
So with this being the last question and due to the time constraint, can I ask for your permission to call it a day and head towards the end of the session?
Yeah, please do. As I told you, when you told me of mediation, I was a little bit worried of how we would even carry on for half an hour. It's very, very little. That's why I kept on asking people to ask me questions. So it was an extremely difficult subject to stretch. If you ask, we've had a drafting session. Remember that? We had a drafting session, right, with you? I had a drafting session with you. Am I correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
You had it. Yes. Now I remember where I seen your face. In that drafting session, I seen you. I was wondering where I seen your face. Yeah. That went on for quite some time. Remember?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because we had a lot of things to discuss. In mediation, it's as I told you, it's difficult. Mr. Mal, I've sent you a photograph for a number of books on mediation. Would you be able to display it? Your colleague, I've sent him a photograph. I'll tell you one thing, very honestly. I have not read a single one of those. And fortunately, we will find that they are very small ones, very thin ones, because there's not much to do with it. A mediator has to be a person with an open, happy heart. Little bit of intelligence is necessary, but an open, happy heart, getting the two sides together and solving the problem. So I think Mr. Mal will be able to show you the titles of that. I got them yesterday. It was rather late in the day that I got it. Just 1 minute, excuse me.
Your dad's Olympic race.
That is on the other one. I told you.
Oh, it's not here.
Not here. This is the Bhutan picture. My computer is getting repaired. Chalo, anyway. So, Mr. Mal, did you hear me?
I was having a lot of network issues, so I missed it.
I sent you a photograph of a number of books on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 4 books.
As I said, I have not read a single one of those. I've read others, but not one of those. Fortunately, they are thick. anyone, if you pick up, it will, I'm sure it would be as good as the next. Anyone would be as good as the next. The thing is, if you want to be a mediator, what do you do? If you are in for a mediation session, what do you do? I think we've covered it quite well. There's not much I can tell you about it. Unless, of course, I give you specific instances of mediation. And as I said, most of them fail. I've given you an instance of where it worked very well, very recently. But I can tell you so many how they have failed also. To tell you the truth, nobody comes in. Chalo, mediation mein jayega. Saturday afternoon, I court mein jayega. That's not the way you enter mediation. You have to enter mediation to a very, very, very positive frame of mind. Everybody has to come in with a positive frame of mind. Otherwise, the mediation will fail. I guarantee you it will fail. Ah, there it is. There it is. Mr. Mal, give me a few days. I'll check on these books and maybe recommend one to you. I'll send you maybe more than one. I might be able to recommend one to you.
Yes, sir. We'll be waiting for this.
Let me go through it. I had read another book which was quite a thick one, quite a big one. But see, normally these thick books don't teach you much. They are filled with court case, with cases, case laws. And they don't even tell you how you went about winning or losing that case and what happened. They just take the case law, add it to the book, and instead of the book being so thin, you make it so big, and then say 10,000 page ka maina book likha. No. So let me go through these, and let us see if I might be able to find something which would further what we have discussed today. I'll just give me a few days. I'm in Bombay for a few more days. Just give me a few days. I'll do it for you. Okay?
Definitely.
Anything else? Mr. Mal, now think of another subject which takes a lot of time.
Okay, sir. I will. Indeed.
Sir, with the kind permission, I'd like to end this session with a vote of thanks.
No, you don't have my kind permission. You just have my permission. There's not any kind about it. You have my permission. Why do we use these fancy phrases, especially in litigation? Cut those out. I mean, it's archaic. It's old. You don't write pleadings that way. You come to the point. Have you seen the old pleadings where the first paragraph of first word in each and every paragraph starts with that, comma. That, comma. Have you read it? Read the old pleading. That, comma. And unfortunately, the typists get so used to putting that comma after the word that in between also, if there's a word that, there's a comma, which might change the whole meaning of the sentence. So you have my permission. That was very nice speaking with you. I hope I haven't spoiled your Saturday afternoon, but now you'll be free to do whatever you. Does your college work Saturdays? Does your college work Saturdays? Is your college open on Saturdays?
Not for all. Not for all.
Good excuse
Like
for
just for the
mediation.
first year and the second year, we have foundation classes. For that, Saturdays are open.
There should be mediation on this process as to why only 2 years have got Saturdays working and why do the other 3 not have it.
And that too, sir, the second and the fourth Saturday,
Yes, I was coming to that. Second and fourth Saturdays are holidays. And what about the 5th Saturday? There are 5th Saturdays too. What do you do then? Is it on or is it off?
Off, sir.
Good. The banks are working. My wife's office, which had a 5th Saturday, that they would not work on the 5th Saturday either. So you have one 5th Saturday not working, and immediately after that, you have a 2nd Saturday not working. So anyway, I wish all of you good luck. I hope we meet again, and maybe we'll have another hotter discussion. Okay? God bless you. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Now that we've reached the end of this workshop, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the people who have been with us as support systems, without whom this would not have been possible. I, on behalf of the Core Committee of XSLAJ, convey my most sincere thanks to our esteemed speaker, Dr. B.M. Malcolm. It has truly been an insightful experience. I would also like to express my gratitude to Vice Chancellor of St. Xavier's University, Kolkata, Reverend Dr. John Felix Raj, for entrusting and imbuing us with this wonderful opportunity. Further, we would like to show immense indebtedness to our convener, Dr. Animesh Das, for giving us a strength to carry on all our endeavors. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the audience across all platforms for their participation, attention, and eagerness with respect to XMC'23. I wish all the very best to all the participants of XMC'23. Thank you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.